Alrighty. So we have here the first league match of the season for Arjunnagpal, and I have no idea how to pronounce this other name. AuD14? AuD14? I wonder what that means. In any case, let's look at this kingdom. There are already a few turns into it. So we've got draw. Well, sheepdog can draw, and page can turn into warrior, which can draw. Herald can potentially draw if it reveals an action card. It'll draw that card and immediately play it. Recruiter looks like draw, but it's not draw. Because although Recruiter draws you 2 cards, you then have to trash a card. So Recruiter took up a spot in your hand, and the card you trash takes up a spot in your hand. So playing Recruiter won't actually increase your hand size. We have plenty of draw from the other cards. Action, we got Village in the short term, Herald in the short term. In the long term, Page will eventually turn into Champion, which can give you unlimited actions. We have plus buy in the form of Market. You can also gain things using Displace. And then trashing. There's not much like true trashing. Farmland can trash cards, but Displace can exile cards, which is just about as good. And Recruiter can also trash cards. I'd say this looks like a pretty strong kingdom to me. You want to get to Champion relatively fast. You want to play a bunch of draw cards, probably mostly sheepdogs, and then you can do a lot of stuff with Displace at the end of that. Get gold, turn the gold into province, via Displace, turn the province back into gold, and you could easily be doing 3 or 4 provinces per turn once you build up. So my first goal, I think, here would be to hit 5. I really want Recruiter. I also want Displace. Those are the 2 main ways I'm going to be trashing cards. And so I would think that you should open something like Page Silver or Page Sheepdog. I mean, you want the Page as well because you got to get started in the Champion line. And I think Silver or Sheepdog are the cards that are kind of most making me likely to hit 5 early on. They open with Village Herald and Village Silver. I don't like either of these openings. I think both of them are pretty weak. So first off, there's almost never ever any reason to open with Village in the opening because the main function of Village is just to help you resolve collision between other action cards that you have. Like if you have 2 terminal action cards, like say 2 Displaces, then playing a Village can let you play both of those. And that's all Village is doing for you. The effective Village is sort of on net, it gives you 1 extra action to work with. And if it's your opening, you definitely don't have any actions in your deck yet, and so there's no need for Village. It's like wasting a buy. And so you'd much rather add something that helps you immediately than something that maybe could be beneficial down the road. Herald, likewise. Herald hits action cards. If you reveal them, chances are you don't have a whole lot of action cards in your deck yet, so I'm not liking the Herald buy. Neither of them got Page, or at least not early on. And so neither of them is looking to get to Champion expediently, which seems like a pretty big mistake to me. And then I think we see another mistake here from AuD, turn 3, buying a Market. I think of the $5 cards, Market just seems clearly much worse than the other 2. Recruiter is just a phenomenal card, arguably the best card in the game. Not just in this kingdom, but like in the game as a whole. It trashes, it gives you villagers. It doesn't even take up space because it draws as many cards as it trashes. And so Recruiter is just very versatile, well-rounded. You get it on your first $5 buy almost every single time because it just does so much to jumpstart your engine. Displace is also relatively strong. It trashes cards. It can get you new cards of value. I'd love to displace some estates into sheepdogs, turn coppers into pages, and so forth. And Market, by comparison, is just not doing a whole lot. Like, it gives you 1 extra coin and a buy, and that's like not bad, but it really, I think, gets overshadowed by the rest of this stuff. So catching up a bit, they do eventually get pages, which is good. I would probably avoid getting too many treasure hunters. I don't want a lot of silvers in my deck early on because the silvers are really going to gunk it up. And so I'd likely only buy 1 page with the intent of turning that 1 page into champion, not advancing others. And I might end up with multiple pages. Like if I was displacing a copper, I would rather take a page than an estate. But even if I got that page, I think I would just leave it as a page rather than let it be upgraded into treasure hunter because that choice is optional. Catching up a bit, they're already going for province. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Arjunnagpal jumps straight to province turn 9. Well, I guess it's fair. There was 8 victory points in the aqueduct pile. Okay, that I guess is enough to justify it, because that's functionally like a 14-point province there. I guess 14 points could make me want to take the province. But in general, this is a kingdom where I'd want to build big. I'm not looking to stop at single province. I'm looking to get a whole bunch of provinces in a single turn. That you can get a lot bigger than that. All right, I'm about caught up now. So Arjunnagpal just bought a gold. This is a kingdom where you should never, ever, 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 ever buy gold. Which is honestly, that describes a lot of kingdoms. First off, gold is just not a particularly good card for your deck. Right? Like you want to get deck control first. You want yourself to be drawing your whole deck. You want to be playing all your action cards every turn, and only then are you adding payload. And so, given that they don't have deck control yet, it is definitely not time to be adding gold. Secondly, there's just better ways to gain gold. In general, the best way to get gold is via some of the gold gainers, not from buying gold. For example, if you get control of your deck first, for $5 you can buy Windfall, which gives you 3 golds for less money, and you're getting 3 times the value. That's a lot better, but it first requires you to draw your whole deck so that there's nothing in the discard pile. Likewise, your page, once you advance it up the line, will eventually become a hero, which just gives you a free gold. And so there's much better ways to get gold. I'd be buying Displace or Recruiter, and it truly pains my heart to see that 14 turns in, both the Recruiter and the Displace pile are still at 10. Those are just like the 2 of the strongest cards in this kingdom. And I mean, Recruiter is just one of the strongest cards in general. And they seem to not care about those cards very much. Yeah, I'm not totally sure what the game plan of these 2 folks is, but I think they're severely underselling the potential strength of building big here. Okay, so AuD. I need to figure out what this person's name is. Maybe it's like AU, like gold, and like D14, like a 14-sided die. Can you even have a 14-sided die? I don't think that's a number where that number of dice faces makes sense. Maybe it's their initials in 2014. I have no idea what that name means. I'm just going to continue calling them AuD. Alright, so it's Arjun's buy. They got 2 buys for 6. I mean, at this point, it's hard to even say whether the correct buy is like Recruiter or Displace. Because, the whole reason you get the Recruiter is to get trashed early, get villagers early, to jumpstart your engine. And it's entirely possible that the time for building a good deck has sailed, and you're already kind of committed to the mediocre big money deck. I think that Displace would... I think I might take Displace over Recruiter at this point, honestly, just because in the in-game Displace has more value. You can turn your provinces into golds or farmlands or duchies. You can turn your golds into provinces. And that sort of immediate trash for benefit, or exile for benefit technically, is going to do a lot more for me in the late game. So Arjun's got a bit of a points lead, and it's not clear to me that AuD's deck quality is overall higher to compensate. Like, this is a kingdom where, in general, I wouldn't worry too much about the points lead. If my opponent had like the first 3 provinces, I wouldn't worry in the slightest. You could easily build up to 4 or 5 provinces in a turn if you wanted to, and that wouldn't scare me. That being said, I don't think that AuD has actually built bigger than Arjun here. I think that they're playing a relatively similar deck and just a little bit behind at it. They've got a whole lot more treasures in their deck than I would want. And they keep buying golds. I mean, I guess it's consistent with their name. If they're going to name themselves AU, then I guess they're going to buy a lot of golds. And Arjun does have the AG in their name, so we got the gold and silver players, but this is not a kingdom where I want gold and silvers very much at all. Like, you take a silver to get yourself to 5 is reasonable, I think. You could justify a single silver in the opening because it increases your chance of getting a Recruiter or a Displace early, and that's really all I want. And then once you're drawing your deck, you add like a gold. And then you can displace the gold in the province, turn that province back into gold, turn that gold back into province, and you only really need 1 gold to pull that whole combo off. I don't have to see any reason to have multiple golds, multiple silvers. All it's doing is getting in the way of all your draw cards. But they are going to play big money anyway. I expect to see that probably a lot, honestly, in this match. Like, this is an I-League match, so I think both of these are on the relatively newer side as far as players go. And I think newer players do tend to play the simpler, moneyish strategies a lot. And so I would not be surprised if we see a lot of kingdoms where they just take the simple, money-focused route, even if there's a big engine available. A little sad though. And I see a few people are listening in. Are y'all able to hear the audio just fine? You can just send a message in chat if you can. Awesome, perfect. Yeah, I mean, I assume you just buy like Province Duchy here. Again, I think it's way too late to to play the truly best deck. If you were to like hand me AuD's cards or Arjunn's cards at this point, you don't want to like go back and try to build the engine that should have been. They're a little bit in too deep to change course now. And so now that you've committed to the simple money strategy, you kind of just got to keep going and keep buying points. I don't think the market's good there. I mean, AuD's deck is thick as all get out. They're looking at like 20 more cards before you can get back to it. So you buy that market for 5. At most, you see it like one more time, maybe before this game ends. And then maybe it helps you buy an extra duchy, but it could have just been a duchy to begin with. And given that you're odd, there's only 4 provinces left, and you're behind by a whole lot of points, I think I would have just taken Province Duchy there. These two really like their markets. Market's like an okay card. Like, it's one of those cards that you always add it over nothing, because it does like a little good, never any bad for your deck. But boy, is it weaker than the other two. The real cost of a card like Market or Baker is the opportunity cost. You know, adding a Baker or a Market that's just like, here, have a free coin every time you play it, is never bad. But it's often just a lot slower than the alternatives. You know, you're spending 5 to get a card that gives you 1 coin per time. It takes a while to pay off that cost. You got to play it like 5 times before you get 5 coins back. Where the card like Displace, you play it once, you turn your gold into a province, you got an 8 cost card. You're turning your province into gold, you got a 6 cost card. Every play, it's paying for itself much more rapidly. And so the problem with Market is just it costs 5, and there's usually better cards that cost 5. And so Market's okay-ish, but an average quality card. Alright, this looks like Arjunn's got the game 1 lock. It's not technically half points. Like, there are technically enough points left that if AuD acquired like all the farmlands, all the duchies in the province, they would still win. But for all intents and purposes, this looks to be over. So game 1 will go to player 1, and AuD will have a chance to win starting their second game. It's truly tragic to me that AuD is just now getting their champion on what is likely the final turn of the game. Yeah, with cards like Page or Peasant, you know, the card itself is weak, but then the cards it gets you are incredibly strong. Cards like Champion or Teacher or Disciple. And so you want to get it ASAP and play it very frequently. And then you get the champion to play it early, like turn 10 or earlier than that even, and then your deck just goes off. AuD is just getting the champion right around now, and Arjunn's just finally playing the champion right around now, at which point, not doing a whole lot for you. I think you could do a lot more to expedite that. Like, you don't buy all the treasures, you buy cards that trash your cards, like Recruiter and Displace, and then you get the Page earlier, and then you have a thin deck that plays it every turn or two. You get to that champion a lot faster. What would I think about a double Page start? That's a good question. It's not bad. It's definitely better than either of their openings, for sure. The one thing that I think tilts me against it here is I would like to hit 5. And so I'd like something like, you know, a Sheepdog or a Silver that just makes me a bit more likely to hit 5 early. Because Recruiter is like a really good card. And I'd love to get a Recruiter in my deck as soon as possible. But, you know, definitely double Page is better than like Village Herald or such things. There's a lot of kingdoms kind of like this where you don't really want a lot of silvers and stuff like that, but maybe you just have to suck it up and buy one in the opening because the cards you really want are expensive. And then once you get one Recruiter in your deck and then you've trashed your estates, all of a sudden you're hitting 5 every time and buying the cards you really want. But you can't just be like, I know my long-term plan doesn't involve silvers, so I'm just never going to get a silver. Because if you do that, you don't hit 5, and then like you're like turn 8, and you still haven't hit 5, and your deck's doing nothing, and the other person who bought 1 silver ends way ahead because that silver got them the Recruiter faster, and then the Displace faster, and so forth. And so I think I would just suck it up and buy a card that maybe isn't my ideal card because I want to get that early 5 cost card here. Alrighty, going into game 2. As soon as AuD readies up. Okay, what do we have in this kingdom? This one looks like a nice, complicated kingdom. I like this. Okay, so draw. We've got Wayfarer is like a smithy that gives you silvers, and that's really the only reliable draw. Apothecary can draw you your coppers, and then Necromancer can play Zombie Apprentice, which lets you like trash an action card, which gives you some draw, but that's not really a reliable basis for your deck. So Wayfarer seems relatively important. Actions, you got Bazaar, Throne Room, and Mining Village, so plenty of sources of plus action. Plus buy will be a bit hard to come by in the short term. Animal Fair will eventually be plus buy, but only after at least one supply pile empties. So I'm probably looking to gain cards via non-buy means. The ways I see here are Engineer is pretty nice. You buy it once, and then every time you play it, you can get like a Throne Room, Mining Village, Necromancer. Those are all good cards. In some cases, you can even get Wayfarer off of it. If you've gained another card already that costs 4 or less, then Engineer will be able to gain Wayfarer. So to my mind, Engineer is going to be an important card in the relatively short term, because before pile's empty, I want an ability to gain more than one card per turn, and Engineer seems like the best way to do that. The other way you can look at potentially gaining cards is Necromancer. Can play Zombie Mason, which trashes a card from the top of your deck. Now, normally this card can be, it's difficult to use it to trash, let alone to gain cards, because you just like trash a random card off the top of your deck, you might trash something of value. But there's multiple ways here you could use to potentially line up a card that you really want to trash. E.g., you play Count first, and then you top deck an estate, say, and then play the Necromancer. Now you know estate's on top, you want to trash your estate and get a card off of it. Likewise, you could use Apothecary, you play that, and then, the main effect of Apothecary seems to be that it grabs the coppers, but an undervalued effect of Apothecary, I think, is that it also reveals all those cards, even if they're not coppers, and lets you put them back in whatever order you want. So even if your deck has 0, coppers, Apothecary could let you see what cards are on top, put a card you want to trash on the very top, play your Zombie Mason and trash that. And then lastly, you could use Dungeon, like discard cards, draw through your deck, and then the cards in the discard are bad, and you can trash them. So a lot of ways you could set up Zombie Mason as a gainer as well. So how do you open? I'm not totally sure. I think plausible options to me would be Dungeon Engineer, Dungeon Necromancer, maybe Dungeon Potion. I could also see like on 4/3 you could get like Necromancer Engineer. I'm not totally sure if I want Apothecary. Like I said, it does play nicely with Necromancer, but I'm not sure how important that is long term. I think I would probably skip the potion. I think... Actually, I'm not disliking the silvers either. I think there's a good argument for silver. You can get to 5 faster, and if you get to 5 fast, you can get Count, and Count can trash a bunch of cards all at once. So I think a pretty good play here is just to try to hit 5 early with like a Dungeon Silver opening, and then get an early Count. They both open with a Village. Okay, both of them have this consistent, like, open with Village idea that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So WAP is pointing out that, Count also has this nice little effect, which is if you gain a copper, then you technically gained a card costing 0, and Wayfarer all of a sudden costs 0, which is like a neat little interaction. So that could be an additional usage of Count. But I'm not liking these Mining Village openings at all. You don't need a Village yet. The only reason I might consider even opening Mining Village is like you could pop it immediately to get 2 extra coins, and then use that to buy a Count. And maybe you're like, I don't really want silver long term, so I'll get Mining Village, which is like a one-time silver. And I can see that logic. But that's clearly not why they're getting it, because they both played the Mining Village and then didn't pop it. The Mining Village, I think, has the same problem as the Village last game, which is just, it's not doing anything for you in the early game. You don't open with Villages. And then oh my goodness, they just keep buying all the Mining Villages. There should not be 6 Mining Villages left, when there's like... Let's count. There are 2 total terminal action cards missing from this kingdom. 1 Count has been bought, 1 Engineer has been bought. There are 4 Mining Villages and 2 Throne Rooms missing. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 villages, which would be enough to play, between the 2 of them, 8 terminal action cards. So they're like 4 times over-villaged in terms of the amount of villages they bought relative to actual terminal action cards. And they're only increasing that. They bought yet another village with Bazaar. Yeah. The big problem with, buying all these villages and stuff, like... Well, there's an additional problem with Throne Room, which is that if you only have Throne Rooms and they're not actual terminal action cards, what are you going to play the Throne Room one, So Throne Room's like doubly bad to get with no terminals. But it's even in general, like Mining Village or whatever. The problem is, it's kind of similar to the problem of Market and Baker that I was talking about earlier, is, sure, a Mining Village is never bad for your deck, But if all you do is buy mining villages and pass up on buying cards that actually improve your deck, then your deck's not going to get any better, and not with any reasonable speed, and you're going to fall behind the person who bought cards of actual value. Anyways, let's see where we are now. Have they played their count yet? Oh no. Oh no. So AuD has found their count, and they played their count, and they did exactly the wrong thing with it. The reason you get count early is because it can trash a bunch of cards, and you'd love to have a real thin deck. You want to get all these coppers and estates out of the deck because they're real bad. They're getting in the way. The draw's not amazing here. It's fine, but you don't have like surplus draw going around to be able to draw like 10 extra junk cards. So the reason you'd want to get count to trash all those cards. Rather than doing that, they just use it to discard a copper to gain 3 coins, which is basically like using count as a very bad silver. Silver gives you 2 coins without having to waste an action on it. Count, if you discard a copper to get 3 coins, you've gotten 2 coins and you spent an action doing so. So if you're using count for the money, you're in for a real bad time. Count has exactly one valuable use, which is you get it when you want to trash. And then maybe you keep it around and eventually it has extra uses, like you use the money or gain duchy gains later. But you never get it for those purposes. You get it because it can trash your cards. Alright, so we're about caught up. What are we doing here? Yeah, I really don't like the state of their decks at all. Count especially, it's one of those cards that you really want to get super early. Because with Count, you don't really get much of a choice of which cards you trash. You're just going to trash like every card that's in your hand. Now that's really good when like 95% of your deck is bad cards, right? You open with Count turn 1 and you line it up with a bunch of estates and coppers, you're very happy to trash it. The longer the game goes, the harder it's going to be to actually trash with Count, because you're going to have to accidentally trash some good cards along with the bad cards, and that's a bit of a drawback. Yeah, so last game ended with 10 recruiters in the supply. That was truly tragic. Might this game end with 10 wayfarers in the supply? Also quite possible. I'm gonna hope not. I think Wayfarer maybe is at least a card that even a newer player can understand the value of a bit more. And it looks like a smithy. People know smithy's good, and it gives you silvers, and people think silvers are good. So I could easily see them buying Wayfarer, hopefully. Perhaps not for the right reasons. I should mute my Slack notifications real fast. Alrighty, I'm back. Okay. Well, alright, we have seen a Wayfarer gained. Okay, that's a start. Yeah, so like the long-term goal of this deck is going to be, you want a deck that's got some villages and throne rooms and wayfarers. That's your actions and your draw. And in the short term, your gains are going to be coming from engineer, I think, for the most part, and maybe some zombie masoning. And then in the long term, you probably add a few animal fairs for plus buy. And then you really never, ever should need to buy any treasures here, except, again, maybe silver in the opening to hit 5. Because once you do want payload, A, you'll have animal fairs, which you can get very cheaply. And then B, if you want to add extra payload, your wayfarers will just give you all the silvers you want as you play them. It is a little bit of an intricate balance, how many silvers you take with wayfarer, because like obviously, I mean, you do want some amount of payload, but if you start adding them too frequently, like you take a silver every single time you play one, and you're playing like 4 or 5 wayfarers to draw your deck just gets full of silvers. Yeah, I don't understand why the throne rooms and the mining villages are the cards that they want. Again, mining village is it's like a silver once. It's good because it's a village, but if you only have like one terminal action card in your deck, then the village effect isn't really helping you very much. So yeah, I don't understand why they want mining villages. I understand why I would want a mining village, namely because it's a $4 village that my engineer can gain, so I can play more wayfarers. And then likewise, throne rooms. Again, throne room is great if you have a bunch of action cards to play. Like I'd love to throne my necromancer, throne my wayfarer, throne my animal fair, but they don't have a whole lot of this in their deck, and yet they have a bajillion throne rooms. It's not even that like buying lots of throne rooms is not bad. In fact, I find most new players often undervalue throne room. It's a really good card, especially if you can play it well in an engine. Throne rooming action cards is just it's really strong. It's like whatever card you use it on, like say Animal Fair. Your throne room is like an Animal Fair plus a village all in one, because you get to play the action card that you're going to play, and also you don't have to spend an action on it because the throne room's playing it for you. So I think throne room is great. The problem here is, I guess, not the throne rooms in the abstract. It's the fact that they haven't actually gotten other action cards to play with the throne rooms. I admire the spirit of getting lots of throne rooms, but I don't think this is the way that strategy is supposed to work. Arjunnagpal has requested an undo. Oh no! Oh no, AuD, what are you doing? Why did they deny the undo request? What? That was unsportsmanlike. Oh, you're right. You were totally right. I misread that. They voluntarily withdrew their own undo request. It would say undo request was denied if AuD turned it down. Okay. My apologies, AuD. All right, now this is what a deck should start to be looking like. I'm liking this: throne room, bazaar, village, draw. This is going off nicely. And then be careful how many silvers you're taking here. I mean, if not even a single pile is empty yet, then the maximum money you can need in your entire deck is 8. Because with one buy, the most expensive card in the entire game in this kingdom is Province at 8. So if you have 8 money, then that's all the money you can conceivably need until Animal Fair gets powered up, and then maybe you might want 16. You don't need. God, they got so many silvers. You don't need however many silvers they have, 10 or something, to buy one province for 8 money. And if you add a bunch of silvers, your deck ends up falling apart, and then you can't draw your cards again. So I would not be looking to take the silvers here with Wayfarer, not yet at least. Maybe if Throne Room or Mining Village runs out, and then my Animal Fair has plus buy, maybe then I add a few more silvers so I can get to 16. But I would rather not have those silvers in my deck right now. Okay, so I like the choice to empty the throne rooms, because now they got the plus buy. They still have way more silvers than that requires. I would seriously consider it as AuD, actually. Just play the count, top deck the Animal Fair, and trash all of that is like a very serious consideration. I mean, it's way too late. They should have trashed those coppers a long, long, long time ago. But it still might be better late than never. I'm not even totally sure. Trash it all? Nope, they're just taking the money. Oh, no, that's not the right order. You did that wrong. You could have bought the Wayfarer when it cost 0 and then bought double province. They basically just passed up on a free Wayfarer. You buy the provinces first, then now all of a sudden your Wayfarer costs 8 instead of 0, and you can't afford it anymore. Yeah, that was a little sad to see. Also, taking a copper for the count just to get the 3 coins is ick. Especially, if your plan was just to buy 2 provinces, which cost 16, you didn't need to hit 18. You could have played the account, discarded 2 coppers, and taken the 3 coins. So you would have hit 16, and you wouldn't have an extra copper junking up your deck. So I'm very much not a fan of their choice of count play there. I'm not sure who's in the lead here. Arjun's got a slight points lead, but I'm not sure their deck's actually of sufficient quality here. This late in the game as Arjun, I would absolutely be trashing that Mining Village. You're not going to see that again before the game ends. You got 15 cards to go through. Just pop it for the coins, and then buy something nice for yourself. Like if they popped that Mining Village, they could have bought a Duchy, for example. Or what actions are in the trash to play? Yeah, probably just bought a Duchy, I would think. As AuD, I think I would Throne Room the count, discard twice, and just take 2 Duchies. The other option is you could buy a province if you Throne the count and took the coppers, and just took coins twice. It's riskier, and seeing Arjun's hand, as a spectator I can say that would be losing, because Arjun's almost certainly got 8 in hand. They're looking at 6 already plus 4 draw. But I could see rationally as AuD you might think that you should take the gamble and try to take the province. Discard for 2 duchies is 6 points. Take coppers and buy provinces 6 points. The question is whether you want to leave 2 provinces or 1 for your opponent. I think I like the duchy play better, because then you have the points lead now. You'd be up 24-21, and then if they buy province, you can buy province in response. They're almost doing it that way. I think they might be misunderstanding how count works. So they had 1 copper left, and they chose to top deck it to get the duchy. You can still choose with count. You can choose the discard 2 cards option, even though you don't have 2 cards left. It'll just discard the 1 card you have left. And the effect doesn't have to succeed for you to get the benefit half. Even if you only discarded 1 card, you still get to do the choose 1, gain a duchy part. And so they didn't need to top deck a copper. I mean, if they were thinking I want to top deck a copper, well then I'm going to have to disagree and say you shouldn't top deck coppers because it's not a good card. But I'm guessing maybe they misunderstood count and thought, oh, I need to top deck this card because the discard won't work with 1 card left. And in fact it would. Oh, Arjun just hits 16 anyway, so it ends up being a moot point. That's 2 games for Arjun, none for Goldie. Maybe that's the intended name. Goldie, AuD14. I'm really not totally sure what their name means. By not totally sure, I mean I have not the slightest idea. Here's AuD. Could be pronounced that way. AuD14. So now it's Arjun's turn to go first again, and they are up 2-0. AuD does like to take their time getting ready. AuD's deck has 9 throne rooms, and I count roughly 3 cards I would conceivably want to use the throne room on. I think I might have identified the flaw there. All right, what have we here? This one's interesting. So we've got no source of action that I can see. So you're stuck with 1 terminal action per turn. That being said, there's not a whole lot of terminal actions. Navigator is basically not a card. You don't buy that. So your terminal actions are Outpost or Tracker. So you don't need a whole lot of villages anyway, because you're playing one of those maybe. You got good trashing in the form of Sentry and Forager. But you also got Shepherd around. And with Shepherd around, that means you also have Pasture around, because whenever Shepherd's in the kingdom, you start with a Pasture in lieu of 1 copper. And Pasture makes estates worth 2. And so in Shepherd Kingdom, sometimes you don't even want to trash your estates in the first place, because A, they're worth twice as much, so they have a bit more value to you, and then B, you can discard them for draw to Shepherd. Note, there's no other draw in this kingdom, so you might even seriously consider just keeping your estates around and using them as discard targets for the Shepherd to draw. I'm not totally sure if you trash them or not. I think I would lean towards keeping them, because the kingdom doesn't look super strong. I'm not totally sure. We've got Familiar. I think you could make an argument for going for Familiar. It's a reasonably strong attack. You take the potion, you get Familiars, your opponent ends up with 10 curses eventually. I think I'd probably skip it though. Between Sentry and Forager, I think there's enough trashing to make it too painful of a detour for yourself to pay off. I think Spices is good. Fool's Gold's potentially good. With Forager, you can get plus buy easily. With Spices, you can get plus buy easily. Add a bunch of Fool's Golds maybe as a payload. I don't have a super strong opinion on exactly how this kingdom should play out, if I'm being honest. I think it's a lot less obvious than the last 2. I think you could maybe trash your estates, you could maybe not. You could play with Spices, you can play with Fool's Golds. You could maybe try Familiar. Do you get Outposts? I'm not sure, honestly. The argument in our Outpost's favor is just what else are you spending your action on? Tracker is an okay-ish terminal, but not an amazing one or anything. And so if I have a free terminal space anyway, I could see adding an Outpost. That being said, it's not strong here. Because Outpost is really good when it's functionally giving you like 2 whole turns. You know, you get like a big engine or something that can kick off, and then you play an Outpost at the end of it, and you get like an entire second turn. Like, that's massive. Like, Outpost in a black market game, for example, is huge, because you get big engine decks that just play themselves twice every turn. Outpost, I think, is a lot weaker in like simple money-ish games, because, you know, 2 hands of 3-ish cards, or 4 cards in the Outpost hand and 3 cards in the other hand, can often be worse than 1 5-card hand. Because if your goal is just to like spike 8 to hit Province, then you know, 1 5-card hand might do better at that. So Outpost, I think, it's not super strong here, but I think you likely get it anyway, just because like, what else are you spending your action on? El Zorro is asking, is it worth picking up Familiar to trash a potion for Forager? I would say no. I mean, if I'm picking up the Familiar, it's because I want to curse them, and you know, getting rid of curses in your deck does take some effort. I wouldn't be thinking about powering up Forager because you're powering up both Foragers, right? Like, if I take the effort to get Foragers and then get a potion and then trash the potion, and then my opponent sees, oh, J Nails has trashed a potion, what are they going to do? They're just going to buy the Foragers. And then they got to the same place I did, but with a lot less effort, right? We both bought Foragers, and then I went the extra mile of buying a junk card, trashing an extra junk card, just to power it up for both of us. And so I think it'd be pretty easy to counter that. Anyway, however beneficial it is for you to power up the Foragers, you know, they can just do the same thing without having to waste their time. And so that's the problem, I think, with doing it that way, is it's something they can take advantage of for free. They're just going to freeload off of your potion trash. Star chart impact outpost consideration. Maybe a little bit. I mean, part of the problem is, like, if you want to draw stuff here, the way is Shepherd. And in a 5-card hand, Shepherd, like, you maybe line it up with like 2 or 3 green cards if you're lucky. What's the likelihood that you draw your deck with 3 cards in your starting hand? You know, if you find a Shepherd and a single green card, you're not net drawing any cards. You play the Shepherd, you discard the green card. Your hand's down 2 cards, you draw 2 cards, your hand's back up to 3. So you're spinning your wheels. So for Shepherd to really like net increase your hand size, you need to line it up with at least 2 green cards. You know, so best case scenario is you play your outpost, you see Shepherd and 2 green cards on top. Your hand's now 3. Then you discard those, now you have a 4-card hand. Maybe you see Shepherd and 3 green cards, you discard those, now you have a 6-card hand. You're slowly working your way up. But like, what are the odds you draw exactly Shepherd 2 green cards, Shepherd 3 green cards? Almost certainly the answer is your deck never really ends up getting, your hand size never really ends up getting very big. Shepherd works really well with cards that increase your hand size at the start of the game. Or not start of the game, at the start of your turn. You know, Wharf, Enchantress, Hireling, stuff like that. Because your odds of getting a big Shepherd turn get much, much bigger as your starting hand increases. If your starting hand size is 7, you're really likely to line up the Shepherd well, and the first Shepherd gets you a big hand, which kicks off the second Shepherd, and so forth. And it's kind of like an all-or-nothing snowball effect. And so, conversely, the same thing is true of Outpost, is if you start with a 3-card hand on your Outpost turn, you're really, really unlikely for your Shepherds to ever kick off in the first place. Would you consider Double Forager as part of Payload with Banquet? Not in this kingdom, I don't think. I could see an Engine Kingdom, easily, where your payload could just be Banquet for stuff, trash the coppers to Forager, something like that. I'm not looking to build a huge engine here or anything. There's, you know, like I said, very little draw. Shepherd is okay, but doesn't play well with Outpost. There's not a whole lot to build towards. I think probably simpler money or stuff. Now, another strategy that's actually really strong here, and I think totally overlooked and should have mentioned, is Banquet Spices, actually. I now have my answer for, I think, how this kingdom should be played. I should have focused on that. Banquet and Spices is like a surprisingly strong money-ish combo. Basically, anytime you hit 3, you just buy Banquet, buy Spices, and you just end up getting a ton of coffers. And then your deck is mostly a mix of, you know, glorified silvers and coppers, and that mostly draws like 6 and 7 coin hands. But then you have a bunch of coffers to smooth that out, and so you spin your coffers and you hit 8 and you buy Province. And so just kind of spam Banquet and Spices is actually a surprisingly good strategy for emptying Provinces really fast. And so I actually think that might be what I would do. It's stronger than you'd expect. I think that's my new answer for best deck here, just because nothing else looks super enticing. Now, I actually haven't talked about what they did at all thus far. So they got Shepherd Star Chart. That seems fine. Shepherd's not bad. Star Chart's not bad. I can see the rationale there. I like Sentry's first 5. Good trasher. AuD takes Silver Tracker, which sounds a lot weaker. Tracker's okay-ish. I'd buy it if I had 2, I guess, maybe. I mean, maybe not. Fool's Gold is also good. But I'm hitting 5. Sentry and Spices both sound much better to me. So AuD does look to be going the... Actually, I'm not sure. I'm getting very mixed messages from AuD's deck. They took a Silver the first time they had an opportunity. Then they took a Spices. Then they decided to buy Fool's Gold turn 5. And I'm really not sure where the deck is going now. You know, if you want Fool's Gold, you kind of want that in place of standard treasures. Like, forget the golds and silvers, just get Fool's Golds. Because Fool's Gold plays well with other Fool's Gold and not with other treasures. If you have a hand of silvers, coppers, and 1 Fool's Gold, it's just worth 1. You want a deck that's like mostly Fool's Golds as your payload. So if I wanted Fool's Gold, I would commit to that from the beginning. Don't buy the silver, just buy a Fool's Gold, because the silver is going to be worth less than a Fool's Gold is. And if you didn't want to play with the Fool's Golds, there's not a point in adding just like a few of them. We'll see if Arjun plans to trash the estate. I mean, normally that's a no-brainer. Trash both of those. But, oh my goodness. They didn't trash their copper? Why would you not trash the copper? Wait, why would you even buy a Sentry if not to trash the cards? If you don't want to trash your coppers and you don't want to trash your estates, what's the Sentry doing for you? Like, oh, I get like a sneak preview of the cards that I'm going to eventually draw. I'm not really understanding that one. Sentry is good because it trashes cards. Look at all those coppers in the deck. It's a sad looking hand for Arjun. DZ is asking a very valid question. Yes, if I'd have to go back and look. I believe they knew. Yeah, they knew that their deck was just a bunch of green cards. And so if I know my hand's about to be 4 green cards, there's exactly 1 card that I would love to be on the top of my deck. What is that Shepherd? You could draw 8 more cards and have drawn basically your entire deck. Actually, they would have drawn their entire deck after playing the Sentry. Yeah, that seems like a pretty big blunder from Arjun. My guess is they weren't paying attention to what their deck was. They have been making a number of other unforced errors throughout this match, so I'm not expecting a super deck tracking ability or anything. Who has the 2 Shepherds? Let's check. Lowercase a. Arjun has 2 Shepherds. Okay. I think 2 Shepherds is good in these decks. They're both seeming to be keeping their estates around. So 2, maybe even 3 Shepherds could be a good number. Oh, that seems like I'm not sure what they chose to top deck there, but I would be looking to put in a copper on top. I know my Sentry's about to see those cards, and so I'd like to put a bad card on the top, like copper, that I want to get rid of, because I could then choose to trash it. If you just put the good card on top, your Sentry sees the good card and doesn't get to do the thing it really wants to do, which is trash the bad card. Gold. Gold seems worse than Spices here and kind of in general. I'm not in love with the gold. I could see Spices Shepherd and top deck Shepherd. Something like that might be good. What do you top deck? I guess you top deck an estate and discard it with the Shepherd? Not totally sure. Honestly, I think Arjun is green too early. Their deck has a gold, a silver, so 5 coins, 2 coppers, pasture, so 9 coins. To hit Province, they have to draw basically their entire deck with just those Shepherds in it. And that doesn't seem like a thing that you can really count on that reliably. I think they needed a little bit more payload before they started greening. Like, they hit 8 here, but the next hand's going to be nasty. Like, absolutely nasty. Look at that. Because all the cards of value were in that hand. The rest of this is just junk. They've got, like, a pass-through down there and, what, another green card or something? Yep. That is quite the hand they have. Yeah, they were deliberating for a while on whether to put that card on the top of the bottom of their one-card deck, which ends up being the exactly same spot. AuD's deck is just full of coppers, though. The number of Fool's Golds being bought is a bit confusing to me. Wait, I don't think Arjun has any Fool's Golds, though. I think they have none and their opponent has 3. But, like, their opponent has, like, 3 Fool's Golds and some, like, silvers and golds, which, again, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, if I'm playing the Fool's Gold deck, and I've already got a Fool's Gold in my deck, all those other Fool's Golds are going to be worth, like, 4 coins each. They'll be better than silvers and golds. And every silver and gold I have increases the odds that I don't find multiple Fool's Golds, and then my Fool's Gold's like worth 1. So the weird like half Fool's Gold, half normal treasure synergy that AuD is doing seems pretty bad. Trash the copper, I guess. AuD, both of their decks are kind of in a rough spot. AuD's got a weird mix of stuff, but Arjun has just like nothing in their deck. I'm not totally sure what you even buy here is Arjun. A third shepherd, a silver. I don't think your deck can really do 2 Fool's Golds, but maybe. Could be Banquet Spices even, perhaps. I'm not sure. I would think, a Forager could be good here. Sentry has this problem where, like, it's a really good trasher early, but it struggles a lot to find those last few cards. Because, as the game goes on, your deck gets thicker, and so each individual card is less likely to appear. You play a Sentry in a deck of 25 cards, you're seeing 2 out of 24 cards, compared to playing a Sentry in a deck of 11 cards, you're seeing 2 out of 10. And so you're less likely to find your junk cards, and as you've trashed your junk, there's fewer cards to find in the first place. So getting those like last 2 or 3 coppers out of like a big thick deck in the mid game can be pretty difficult, and so you might want to add an additional Forager just to clear out those last few coppers. Both of them seem to have some coppers. Now that being said, I think at least one of them has those coppers by their own volition. AuD was deliberately choosing not to trash coppers when they could. Okay, so this is significant. Arjun should not discard any of the or they should discard exactly one of the green cards. Discard one and not the other. You want to have exactly 4 cards left in your deck. Because you have 4 cards left in your deck, you can top deck a Shepherd with Star Chart. And then you're going to draw 8 cards next turn. If you leave all 5 like they did, you're going to be in for a bad time. You're going to be in for a real bad time. Arjun, no. I thought they were going to make the other mistake. They're going to be like, green card's bad, I'll discard both of them. And then fail to think, oh, well, if I leave one on top, I can discard the Shepherd. They just went ahead and stuck all the green cards back on top of their deck. And I'm not sure what they're expecting to happen next turn, but this is the result. That is a gross hand, and one that was entirely preventable. They could have had a Shepherd and 4 green cards hand. That would have been beautiful. And instead they have 1 coin. Yeah, that was a pretty big mistake. Like basically they threw away an entire turn, more than that even. They threw it, they passed up like an ideal turn to have an absolute worst turn. That was pretty huge, and yet they're still in the lead. They're still significantly in the lead, nonetheless. Arjun is also up 2 games so far. So Proteus is asking, can you ever rush estates and kingdoms like this with Shepherd and plus buy? Well, what you need is 2 other piles to empty, right? Like, if all I do is shove a bunch of estates in my deck and, like, try to beat them in the estate split with no, like, further plan, then what's my plan for ending the game? Like, I've got a deck full of junk, and then maybe they're slower, but they eventually outscore me because they're building towards provinces. You would need to have 2 other piles that are going to empty real soon. Like, maybe if there was, like, magpies and the magpie was running out, because magpies just tend to empty pretty immediately, and then another card that was low, I might consider blitzing the estates as, like, the 3rd pile. But a strategy that just empties estates doesn't really have a plan for, like, what next. You can plan empty provinces, because if you empty provinces, you win. But there's no end game for the estate thing, I don't think. I mean, you can consider adding some estates, of course, if you're playing, like, a shepherd-heavy deck. But I wouldn't be doing, like, monolithically rush the estates super fast or anything. Leave those on top, Arjun. You can top deck a shepherd. You want those on top. And they discard them. Rip. I don't think they're very effectively tracking their deck. This seems like a kingdom where you really want to pay attention to what cards are coming up, where you are in the shuffle, because the combination of, like, Shepherd, Sentry, Star Chart can lead to very good or very bad hands. And Arjun seems to be imposing maximally bad hands upon themselves. And they've actually lost the lead here. I mean, they could still win. With a decent draw, they'll still win here. Discard both of those. Yeah, they'll probably still hit 8, I think. Or no, discard one of those, I think. Maybe discard one and draw the other with Pearl Diver is an option. This worked out well anyway. This looks like it's probably a win. I think they'll hit 8 here. Yep, they made it. AuD got close, though. (3-0) in Arjun's favor. Nice way to start the season. And now we resume our normal ritual of waiting for AuD to press the ready button. Okay, game number 4. Could it be comeback time for AuD? We'll find out. Okay, so this is interesting. This looks like a kingdom where Way of the Chameleon is real significant. So the first thing I would see if we subtracted that would be that there's not a whole lot in the way of good draw. You know, Embassy is draw, but Embassy is super awkward draw. It's a 5-cost card that on net only draws you 1 card. It draws 5. So you play the Embassy. Let's say you had a 5-card hand. You play Embassy, your hand goes down to 4. You draw 5, ship up to 9. You discard 3, you're back down to 6. So your hand went from 5 to 6. Every Embassy increases your hand size by 1. And so it's expensive and convoluted, and it'd be kind of hard to build a draw engine around just Embassy. But that being said, we've got Way of the Chameleon here, which turns coin into plus cards. And so you could, for example, use Monument for draw, which would just be also plus 1 card on net. Plus 2 coins becomes plus 2 cards. Monument also draws many cards as Embassy. 1 Monument play increases your hand size by 1, and you're getting a victory point out of it. And so an engine built around Monument draw looks a lot more enticing to me here. Likewise, Way of the Chameleon makes Scholar look way more desirable. Scholar, or not Scholar, did I say Scholar? Squire, way more desirable. Plus 1 coin, plus 2 actions suddenly turns into plus 1 card, plus 2 actions, and your Squire is like a flexible village instead of a little copper. And so you got nice cheap $2 village pile. You've got draw card and Monument. I think my long-term goal is to play Squires, Monuments, and you can add in border villages and royal carriages because those are just good cards as well. As far as how you open, though, although I was just talking up the value of Monument in this kingdom, I would not open Monument. I think that the very obvious open here, to my mind, is Moneylender. You want to get thin. Thinning is winning, and there's only one trasher here. Monument can trash your coppers. And so, or not monument, not monument. Moneylender can trash your coppers. And so, without any shadow of a doubt, I'm taking Moneylender. Could be Moneylender Squire. Could be Moneylender Market Square. Could be maybe Moneylender Silver. No, I don't want Moneylender Silver. I'm not in a rush to hit 5 or anything in this kingdom. The 5s aren't that much better than the 3s and the 4s and whatnot, so I don't super need the silver. And if I get like a Squire, I can get free silvers, or I get a Market Square, I can get free golds later. So I think Moneylender Market Square, Moneylender Squire, something like that seems good to me. They opened Market Square Monument, which seems confusing to me. So Monument, I mean, I guess they're attracted by the early game victory points. That's a bit of a mistake, you know. Although your long-term goal, like I would love to build a deck that just plays like 6 monuments every turn here. That's the end game. You don't get there by just buying the monument immediately. You got to get a thin deck that does all the stuff it wants to do every turn, which requires getting rid of those coppers. And Monument's not helping you do that. If you rush the like very short-term points, like I'm going to play Monument early and get a points lead, those points are going to be fleeting. You're going to get beat by the person with the better deck. I'll take the Moneylender now and end up having more monuments by the end of the game because my deck is better. Likewise, Market Square seems confusing to me. If you're not opening with Moneylender, you know, I guess the plus buy is kind of helpful because you can get extra Squires. But, I mean, you're not opening with a trashing card, so you can't take advantage of Market Square's effect. I'm not totally sure what motivated their choice to buy Market Square there. Royal Carriage is fine. So I don't like buying the silver. I mentioned earlier, you can get all the silvers you want, or golds you want, off of Market Squares and Squires. There's no point wasting a buy on them. Nope, AuD's just going to keep buying silvers, though. I'm not a fan of this. Now, I did said Moneylender is the only trashing, and there's technically a card, Farmland, which can trash a card for you. I wouldn't really count that as trashing, though, because, like, let's say you trash your estate with Farmland. You buy a Farmland, and you turn that estate into a monument or a Moneylender or something. Well, you've now gotten the estate out of your deck and replaced it with a good card, but now you have a Farmland in your deck, which is basically just like a glorified estate. And so, Farmland isn't making your deck any thinner. Moneylender is the only card here that can actually thin your deck. They are liking the embassies. An embassy in this kingdom could be fine, I guess. But I don't really want too many embassies. Monument just seems like a better form of draw to me in general. One embassy could be nice for reliability. I guess the silver actually kind of hurts. I don't really want silvers in my deck. And so embassy just has this nice effect of like giving your opponent silvers when they don't particularly want them. I would think this should just be Border Village Royal Carriage, probably. Could be Border Village Monument as well. So WAP is saying a single embassy could be nice payload once you're drawing your deck. Yes, if you don't have any treasures. So like if I've trashed all my coppers and my only payload is coming from like monuments and stuff, then you could play the embassy at the end of that process and get 5 coins. And then you discard 3 cards. If I'm playing with treasures, then it's going to start to look undesirable all of a sudden because like I might end up having to discard that silver or something, and the 5 is just like a 3, and then it starts to look like a terminal gold. Well, they always have 3 estates here to discard, right? Well, it depends. Like, my thought would be part of the reason that that one embassy is valuable is because if I'm drawing those like estates into my hand anyway, I can use the embassy as less of like a +1 card and more of like a +4 cards, because I could discard those estates to the discard pile and just plan to never draw back to them. If I'm using the embassy for coins instead, then I'm going to need 3 more draw power to get through those estates. And so I think my ideal scenario here involves playing like 1 embassy for plus card and then hopefully discarding those estates. Would be ideal. Hey, I don't dislike the idea of using embassy for money though. I think there's definitely merit to that. Border Village Royal Carriage seems solid to me. I'm going to be happy if they don't buy gold. So far, they've been doing the right thing. They've been buying Border Village, which is a much better card than gold. Well, they bought Province. That's technically not gold, but it's not really better. Yeah, I mean, early Province just seems really gross here. Like, imagine my opponent just says, all right, 1 monument's enough for me, I'm going to go straight for Provinces, and then lets me take, like, the other 8 monuments in the pile or something. Then I use all the border villages and squires, and I just play like 8 monuments a turn. And I call my royal carriage to play like 5 more, and then I'm scoring like 13 points a turn. Like, how do you win? There's no way you're going to empty all 8 provinces on your own before I can get my deck up and running. And I don't need to touch provinces at all, right? Like, the monuments alone will outscore the entire province pile, let alone the fact that they could buy like distant lands if they want to add some like extra points as they need. So I don't see any scenario where early provinces conceivably win this kingdom. I just want to build big, build really big. I don't know the contents of their deck. I'm not sure whether they should play the embassy first or not. I think you would play this monument for draw. I'm not totally sure what's coming up, but I'm pretty sure they're not very good cards. I could be mistaken about that. But let's see. They discarded 2 coppers in an estate, 2 coppers in an estate. I'm not totally sure what's coming from the deck. It's possible those are good cards. Nope, it's a gross hand. Yeah, I'm super not a fan of this province, any of these provinces. That looked like a very clear double border village play. Probably border village royal carriage, could be border village monuments as well. I'm just looking to play lots of monuments here. I would buy probably Squire here. Could be Market Square. They buy silver. I hate that. You don't want a lot of coins in your deck. I mean, if you're overdrawing here, with your monuments, you just, instead of playing them as chameleons, you play them normally for money at the end. Or you play your embassy for money, like WAP was suggesting in the chat. There's no need for coins, really. You're going to get more coins than you need off of your opponent's embassies. Squire is a great card with Way of the Chameleon around. It's just like a village, but with like flexible options. Market Square is nice because you need the plus buy. They buy another embassy. That's fine. I probably would have taken a carriage or a monument. Same here. Royal carriage? Distant lands. No. Again, same reason as province. You don't need to score here. You just build the big deck that plays a million monuments, and then your deck is going to win in the long term because your deck just never gets any worse. You just like score 8 points every turn forever, and then you keep improving on it. Like, oh, this turn I'm scoring 6. I buy some more cards, and my deck is even better than before. Now I'm scoring 7. Next turn I'm scoring 8. Whereas the province strategy like falls off over time. The distant land strategy is sort of neutral over time. Yeah, all these seem worse. So here you discard province and 2 of the action cards and play the 3rd one. Doesn't really matter which, I guess. Probably play distant lands and then buy border village carriage. Oh, they've got a royal carriage. Maybe they can save it. I didn't realize that. They can actually maybe save their turn here. They draw and find a village. Yeah, okay, there we go. We got an actual turn to have here. Yeah, this is looking better. Play the royal carriage first. Play the monument twice, I think. Nope, they're playing the embassy twice. Maybe just once. Not even sure what the plan is. Two border villages, please. No, not more provinces. Well, I mean, in any case, it looks like AuD is probably going to win. I mean, again, normally, if I wouldn't be worried if I saw my opponent's got like a big early province lead. They've got 3 provinces to my none. I'd be happy to let my opponent have like 7 provinces to my none. But that's assuming Arjun was playing the bigger, engine strategy. They are also playing money. just seemingly less effectively. They've now, for some reason, decided to stop their turn here. Oh, they just want to buy one province, don't they? I'll be pleasantly surprised if they buy Water Village, Carriage, Monument. And I am not surprised, but a little disappointed that they just chose to buy province instead. They're really underplaying their turns a bit. Yeah, this looks like a win for AuD. I did not like that discard choice. Okay, this is still fine. I mean, their deck needs more villages. They're consistently having this problem of having too many terminals. I really wish some of those province buys were like Border Village Carriage. They're really scraping by here. And they're just drawing their villages right in time. But this is a bit of a rickety deck at the moment. Carriage? Royal Carriage. Okay then. We get a distant land. So that's not that bad. I mean, it's the point in the game where you probably want the points. And Arjun's deck still does not seem to be doing a whole lot. Yeah, I'm not really seeing how they come back here. Now they got to burn a bunch of royal carriages on the market square, hoping to salvage their turn. But it didn't happen. And they buy more silvers. Dislike. Yeah, I mean, if you're playing, like, basic big money, Embassy is actually a good card for those decks. Not to say Embassy is actually a good card, because that strategy is, like, not a good strategy in the first place. But if you're going to play that strategy anyway, Embassy is good for that strategy. If you have, like, a bunch of junk, a bunch of coppers and estates, then Embassy ends up looking closer to +5 cards than +1 card, or +4 cards than +1 card, because you get to discard all of the junk. Yeah, this is going to be like the third kingdom at least, where like the most significant card in the kingdom is still at 10 at the end of the game. Game 1, it was Recruiter just sitting there. What was game 2? I forget. Oh no, game 2 they ended up touching Wayfarer. Game 2 they actually, not to the degree they should have, but they got a few Wayfarers. This time again, Moneylender is at 10, and at this point it's too late to go back and buy it. Yeah, Moneylender as Chameleon is kind of cute. It draws you card. It does make Moneylender a bit stronger. I think these folks just severely, like very severely undervalue trashing your cards. We're not seeing a whole lot of games where they do that. Even in game 3, I think it was, where they got Sentry. They got Sentry just to look at their coppers and then not trash them. And that was a little bit difficult to watch. So yeah, the lesson here, if you're AuD or Arjun and watching this game in retrospect, is please trash your cards. Your decks will run so much more smoothly if you get rid of those coppers and estates. In any case, this game is, I think, clearly one for AuD. Do they even have it in hand yet? No, they only got 6. They don't quite have it. Oh, wait, no, they do have it. I'm not counting right. That is 8. You play both carriages, play the monument 3 times, and you play the silver. Yeah, AuD has it in hand. Okay. 3-1. We're not going to see a sweep going into game 5. But it is Arjun's turn to go first again. AuD does have the possibility to tie this up. If they win both of the remaining 2. What have we here? Nice simple engine kingdom looks like. We got draw is rabble. It's like a smithy with an attack. Village is farming village. Scepter is kind of sort of a village, but not a good one. We have pirate ship, but I mean it's pirate ship, so you shouldn't touch it. And trashing it, counterfeit for coppers. Salvador could trash either, but is better for estates. Alter can trash stuff. Replace can trash stuff. Yeah. So I would think the open here looks... I think it's a pretty clear Salvador or silver on 4-3. And you look to get like a counterfeit to trash your coppers, maybe an altar eventually. And then I think my goal is to play rabbles and farming villages and whatnot. On 5-2, I mean, you buy nothing on the 2. Is replace a better first 5 than counterfeit? It might be. I mean, if you're opening salvage or silver, you're definitely taking counterfeit before replace, because your salvage will get rid of those estates. If I have the 5-2, I'm not actually totally sure which of the 5s I buy. Replace, maybe even rabble, maybe counterfeit. I don't know. I mean, the argument for buying replace first is it's better to trash your coppers before your estates if all else equal, because... Or I said that wrong. It's better to trash your estates before your coppers if all else equal, because coppers are at least 1 money, whereas estates are no money. You trash the coppers first, you stop hitting 5. Or you trash the estates first, you hit 5 more often. Yeah, I think replace is a perfectly fine opening. That being said, instead of Salvager, we have Pirate Ship from Arjun. Yeah, sorry, matey, I'm not really a fan of that one. Pirate is... Don't encourage them, no. The chat, I think, is getting too much vicarious enjoyment out of Arjun's Pirate Ship play. Yeah, treasures are a much better payload than Pirate Ship is. I mean, villages are kind of limited. There's only 1 stack of villages, farming village. And you need to be using those villages for, like, your rabble play, your salvager play, your altar play, your replace whatever. You're not going to have surplus actions to go around to play a bunch of pirate ships for your money. Look at them helping their opponent trash their coppers. It's proactively friendly. I mean, I can't really say who's going to win. Like, in these games, I'm not going to expect either person to play the optimal strategy. But I will say you ought not win this kingdom opening pirate ship. Not a snowball's chance in hell that pirate ship silver is the optimal opening. Pirate ship is just such a bad card. I would never touch it. Maybe not. There's like exceptionally rare contexts where pirate ship can be good. Like with capitalism, pirate ship can sometimes be pretty good. That's about it. AuD has decided to take the same route. So we're gonna see it. I don't know what works means. Like, if both people play a bad strategy, then yes, like the strategy is guaranteed to win. That doesn't meet my definition of working. Like, if one person were to not buy the pirate ship, they would have a substantial lead over the person who did buy the pirate ship. 5 pirate ships have been bought. That is so many. There's like a whole armada of pirate ships in this game. And there's only 1 village bought so far. What happened to the like game 1 folks who were only buying the villages and no terminals? Now they're only buying the terminal action and none of the villages. I'm very much a pirate hater. This is not a winning strategy. I mean, it has to be a winning strategy because both of them are doing it, so one of them's gonna win. But it wouldn't win versus someone doing something else. I am somewhat concerned that WAP's description is correct. That they're going to take away the lesson from this game that, pirate ship must be good, when in fact it is the opposite. Who has all the pirate ships? Is it 3-2? Games a pirate A. So, Arjun has 3 pirate ships. This is sad. Well, no one has touched the counterfeit pile. No one has touched the rabbles. One person got to replace at least. That's a card that's worth buying. That was a nice farming village. They skipped over 2 of the 3 estates. That was very lucky. Okay, out getting villages. Why are you don't need more idols, right? And you've already got... I mean, not that the pirate ships should have been bought in the first place, but if you've both already committed to pirate ships, adding more idols to your deck seems like the worst thing you can do, because it's only going to get trashed. I would think like a rabble would be much better. The +6 pirate ship. This should not be. This absolutely should not be. And now AuD's pirate ship is whiffing, as pirate ships tend to do. Yeah, I guess Arjun's going to win this. They both got pirate ship, but Arjun's got the stronger pirates. I don't even think you bother playing your pirate for the attack anymore, bro. Like, at 6, you're probably going to have at least 2 coins in hand, right? I guess that's not guaranteed given the quality of their decks, but as Arjun, I guess you just start provincing here. Like, they're clearly not going for the engine. Alter? Quite late for that, but okay. The game's not over yet. They could still buy a counterfeit. Your prediction's probably correct, but... Wait, what reason would one have to buy a copper? Are you trying to, like, help your opponent pirate ships? They don't have an altar or anything. It's not like they need food to trash their altar. Why would you buy copper? Okay, my current... No, I was going to say maybe they don't realize you don't have to buy a card, like you can pass. But I believe turn 1... They correctly chose not to buy anything. Yep, on turn 1, they did pass the $2 hand. I have no explanation. I cannot come up with a reason in my head that would justify buying copper there, even in the most far-fetched of rationales. Eight pirate ships have been bought. That's so many. It's 8 too many. I must say, newer players love pirate ship with a passion. The ratio of perceived goodness of card to actual quality of card, pirate ship must be the top. I can't think of any card that people love more than pirate ship, despite its awfulness. Yeah, I think Arjun should just be buying a province per turn here. Yeah, true. Everyone underestimates Chapel. I remember Chapel was in the very first game I ever played, and I was like, this card is trash. And then I realized trashing is actually great. Chapel is very much the opposite of pirate ship. Yeah, one Chapel is the correct number. I don't like the way the text wraps around. I mean, this is a brand new change, but it breaks mid-word. So ch is on one line and apples on the other instead of just chapel. I assume the reasoning for that is because when you posted a long URL in the chat, it would get way too big and create the little search bar. But I think there's a better fix than mid-word line breaks. I find the mid-word line breaks a bit difficult to read. Oh, pirate ship. Wait. Let's look at this. So AuD played a rabble, and they knew for a fact that their opponent's top of deck was a curse and a province. And they then attacked with a pirate ship, knowing that A, they could not conceivably hit treasure because both of the cards were revealed and were not treasure, and B, that attacking with pirate ship would discard the opponent's curse and province for them. That was a very friendly pirate ship, and one that AuD had full information to avoid. They seem to have recognized that now, based on their comment in chat. Yeah, that was quite a bit of a blunder. Yeah, this rabble plus pirate ship thing just does not work at all. This pirate ship cannot hit. Forgot that it doesn't use up the token. Yeah, kind of broken. So dumb. I'm kind of confused as to what they mean. Like broken, like pirate ship is like an unusably bad card. In which case, yes, I agree with you. Somehow I don't think that's what they mean. That whole exchange is a little bit weird to me. All right, the final game, Arjun up 4-1. Whew, this looks like a gross one. I don't like this kingdom. Please re-roll. So Mountebank is a very strong attack. Very, very strong attack. 2 junk cards. I would think the goal here, and there's not nearly good enough trashing, I don't think, to deal with that. Actually, maybe Sauna Silver could get you thin. I don't even know. 5-2 seems wonderful here. Open Mountebank Border Guard, no question. Just junk your opponent's deck. And keep junking it. I think there could be some scenario where maybe Sauna Silver could get you clean fast enough to deal with Mountebank. That's going to be tough. Yeah, if you get like good early luck with Sauna and Silver, and then you get like thin early, once that Sauna Silver deck starts getting off, then it can deal with like any amount of junk coming in, because once it's thin, it's going to see multiple Saunas every turn and trash the curse and the copper. The problem is getting thin in the first place, and I think I would just take the Mountebank Border Guard and say your deck's going to be so thick with junk you're never going to get clean in the first place. Okay, AuD is open with Mountebank. That's a good choice. I like that buy. It's a great buy. Way better than any other buy. 2 should be Border Guard. I think Supplies is fine as well, but Border Guard just seems better. Okay, alright. AuD has turned it on. I'm liking these opening buys. Now, what did Arjun take? If they bought Sauna, I would assume the other buy is going to be Silver. I don't understand. Wait, why would you buy Sauna Border Guard? What is the Sauna conceivably doing in your deck if you don't have a Silver in the deck? That doesn't make much sense to me. Yeah, I mean, if I'm on the 4-3, the other option, I guess, could be like Border Guard Silver and try to get to Mountebank fast, and you're just going to play the Mountebank deck like a turn late, or 2 turns late, I guess. It seems worse. I think on the 4-3, I'm probably just taking like Sauna Silver and like praying for dear life that I can get trash fast enough. Bridge Troll, that's fine. I think I probably would have just kept with the Mountebank. Like buy like maybe 2 Mountebanks and then like maybe some IGGs to get the curses in faster. I like the March Mountebank idea, yeah, for this turn. That's a really good idea. Buy March, get an extra Mountebank play in. But you know, I don't dislike the Bridge Troll buy, because with a bunch of cheap 2 costs that I want here, well, cheap 2 costs does make sense. They're not cheap by 2 cost standards. There's a bunch of cheap cards that are 2 costs that I want, like Supplies and Border Guards. I'm happy to add to my deck. Bridge Troll gives you +1 buy the turn you play it and the next turn. You can easily add a bunch of those real fast. So Bridge Troll's fine. Arjun gets Mountebank. Makes sense. Still confused why there's a Sauna in their deck and no silver, though. Yeah, at this point, certainly not. But I mean, like, with Border Guard and Way of the Mole, I could see a world where you line those up with relatively high frequency. Because, Sauna's effect, the silver trash thing, is not a effective playing Sauna, it's effective at being in play. So if you play Sauna as Way of the Mole, you still get to do the silver trashy thing. It's like if I saw a hand of Sauna no silver, I could just play it as Mole, draw 3 more cards, hope to find my silver then. I think that there's a not insignificant chance that the Sauna deck could deal with the influx of curses with fortunate early draws. I'm not sure how significant that is. I'd definitely rather be on the mountebank side, but I don't think it's just like 100% game over. Yeah. AuD, none of these players seems to really care too much about like maintaining an equitable number of villages versus terminal action cards. So for clarity, if anyone's listening and is confused, you have cards that are neutral or action neutral, like Sauna or Border Guard. They give you +1 action. Those cards break even. Each time you play the card, it costs 1 action, you get 1 action back. So you're neither increasing or decreasing your stock of actions. And then on the opposite sides of those neutral cards, you have terminal action cards, which give you no actions, like Mountebank or Catacombs or Bridge Troll. So each time you play a Catacombs or Mountebank, your count of actions goes down by 1. And then the flip side of those, you have villages, like Village, which says +2 action. And so each of those, you spend 1 action to play the village, and you get +2 actions back. Your action count goes up by 1. And so in general, in a deck, you want roughly an equitable count of village cards that give +1 action, and then terminal action cards that give -1 action. And if you have a bajillion terminal action cards, the problem you run into pretty quickly is you find a bunch of them the same turn, you can only play 1, you have no village to resolve it. Now, in general, I think if you're going to err one way or the other, the direction to go is to have a few more terminals rather than a few more villages most of the time. Because especially if you're not quite drawing your whole deck yet, you might line up like 1 terminal one turn, another terminal the next turn. I think you can justify a decent feud here. Like I think my ideal deck has like 2 Mountebanks and maybe a 3rd terminal like a Bridge Troll or something. I'm not totally sure. But you don't want to have a ton of terminals. Like Catacombs in particular seems kind of like a gross card here. If you play it, you're out of actions, and then even if you draw your Mountebank with it, you can't play the Mountebank because you've used all your actions. Now, what's the Sauna split looking like? Games, Sauna, A. So Arjun does have 4 of the Saunas. That's something. If they get their Avento going, they can maybe eventually get trashed. Who has the silvers? They each have 1 silver. Okay, well, 4 Saunas with 1 silver looks less good. The Saunas are mostly good because they can trash, but they only trash with a silver. So I'm not sure how substantial that 4 Sauna lead is going to actually be. Gold is gross, but not as gross as the previous games. I guess it's fine. Yep, that Catacombs is doing nothing for you. Worse than nothing. It's getting in the way. It's getting in the way of a real card. I would buy like supplies, Border Guard here, double Border Guard, double supplies. Silver is okay, I guess. You got a Sauna, but 2 of the 2-cost cards seems better. Oh, they get to trash 2 cards. Oh, no, trash. Please trash your cards. Undo. Hit undo. Recognize the problem. No. Go back. Please. Abort. Why do you even get the Sauna if you're not going to use it? No. So they had a Sauna in play, and they played 2 silvers, so they could have trashed 2 cards. They had 2 junk cards in their hand, a copper and an estate, and they trashed none of those. This is an I-League match, to answer B. coli's question. They then bought a Raider, which, honestly, Raider might be better than gold here. Normally, Raider is a card you just don't buy, because, I mean, gold's already bad enough, so you're barely buying gold in the first place. And then Raider is just mostly a worse gold. The discard attack is usually not significant enough to matter, and it has this problem of being a duration card. And duration cards stay out of play an extra turn. So if I draw my deck every turn, and let's say I want to add more payload to my engine, if I throw in a gold, it's adding me 3 coins every turn. If I add in a Raider, it's adding me 3 coins every other turn. And so you need to get like 2 Raiders and play 1 each other turn to get 3 coins per turn. And then you need to play the second Raider the turn that the other one is in play. Now that being said, that's a major limitation when you're playing an engine, where you're seeing your whole deck basically every turn. It's less significant when your deck is just like absolutely full of junk, because you're seeing that Raider or gold like once every 6 turns, right? You got 30 cards in your deck and you're seeing 5 per turn. So you see that Raider on the top of your shuffle. It doesn't matter that it stayed in play next turn, because it's getting shuffled into your deck long before you get back to it. And so I guess Raider is functionally, in a deck like this, more or less just a gold that has a discard attack, which I guess makes it marginally better than gold. And that being said, even so, there's still some disadvantage to Raider. Like, let's say you see Raider in the last 5 cards of your deck, and it misses the shuffle, because you trigger a new shuffle and Raider's still out of play, and then your Raider is like twice as likely as the gold to miss the shuffle, and then you're kind of sad. So it's not strictly better or anything, but this is a scenario where Raider is less bad than usual. I could definitely see buying it over gold here, because your deck is just too thick for that extra turn to really matter. Yeah, so the way I imagine what was happening here was they clicked like the autoplay treasures, and it just puts all the silvers into play without letting you trash the cards with Sauna. And it used to be the other way around, which is like if you played the autoplay button and put the silvers in play, it would automatically prompt you to trash cards, and then you'd have this problem where like you go to click another card to play it, not realizing that it was asking you which card you wanted to trash with Sauna, and you actually like trash your province, like your gold or something like that. Oh no, oh no. So yet again, Arjun has missed out on the possibility of trashing. They played their Sauna, they played 2 silvers, they trashed no cards instead of 2 cards. They've both now passed up on the opportunity to trash cards for free. Why? IDK. One would think that the reason they were so aggressively taking the Saunas was because they were like, oh shoot, there's a ton of junk in this deck, I really need to get trashed. Given that they are now voluntarily passing up on trashing, I'm not sure what the reason for that was. I guess this is the last Avento. Yep. It's a nice starting hand for Arjun. Now you want to play the Border Guard first before the Sauna and Avento, because you want to maximize the chance that you can line up like a big chain of them. So minor play order issues. It definitely should be Border Guard than the rest. Sad draw. Not that unlikely, but sad nonetheless. Not totally sure what to buy here. Just another silver, I guess. Border Guard, okay. That's not really much worse than silver. Maybe even better. I'm not strongly opinionated on silver versus Border Guard. I mean, Arjun's best scenario for getting into this game was just getting off the big Sauna Avento turn and getting a bunch of cards trashed with those silvers. But they don't seem to have any interest in actually trashing their cards with their silvers, which is going to make that, well, I guess impossible. Silver oversupplies for sure for Arjun, because they've got like a bajillion Saunas and want to trash. For AuD, it's not obvious because they've only got the one Sauna buried in a deck of like 30-something cards. And Supplies is just in general a better card than Silver. Oh my goodness, no! Look at all the curses that they passed up on trashing. Why do you even have the Saunas if you're not going to use them? Oh my. It hurts. It hurts. Look at all those curses that could have been in the trash. Maybe they're thinking like, I'll keep the curses around so I can like top deck them and use them to like, protect from my opponent's mountain bank or something. I don't know. I really don't know. Eek. Pile's going to run pretty low. Curses will run out and border guards will be at 2. I could easily see AuD just like snapping up the last 2 border guards on one of their bridge troll turns. So many Raiders. It is 4-1 in Arjun's favor. This is the final game. Okay, here we go. Big turn. Trash all the cards. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Saunas in play. You have 3 silvers. You can trash every single one of those coppers and just curse. Please at least trash the curse. No, Arjun, no. Arjun, why? You didn't even need the money. You already had 8 coins from the mountain bank and the 3 silvers. You didn't even need to play the coppers. Oh. Oh. I could have trashed 8 cards that turn. For nothing. Literally nothing. It was perfectly free trash. The coppers had no value to them. The curse obviously had no value to them. Oh. At the very least, all of the many major trash plays that Arjun has had and passed up on have convinced me that the Avanto deck is definitely competitive versus the Mountain Bank thing. Like, those are some turns where they could have trashed a ton of cards and really cleaned out their deck. But instead, we now have a 35-card deck. Coming down to the wire. Actually, this is almost guaranteed to be game. Now it's guaranteed to be game. Because AuD can just buy the last 2 curses. Because they have a bridge troll still in play. They will have 2 buys. Well, okay. Will they find it? Buy 2 curses. You're up 7 points. You can take a 2-point hit. You buy the 2 curses, the game's over. Have faith. You can do this, AuD. Buy the curses. No! I mean, this is gonna win too. This is unnecessarily slow. They're gonna win either way. I wonder if they're contemplating buying 1 curse? If they're thinking about the curse pilot, they should have seen that they could have ended the game this turn by just buying both curses. If they're not contemplating buying a curse, then I'm not sure what we're doing right now. Okay. So, as Arjun, I think I would take the Avanto. You really got to get off. Yeah, take the Sauna. You got to trash all these curses. No, don't lead with... Oh, no, that's the wrong order. It looks like it might work out fine anyway. If you have 2 Avanto and a Sauna in hand, you should play the Avanto first, because the Avanto can play the Sauna, which can play the Avanto. If you have 2 Saunas and an Avanto in hand, you should play the Sauna first, because the Sauna can play the Avanto, which can play the Sauna. You lead with the card you have more of. They had Sauna, Avanto, and they played the Sauna first. And the problem is, you play that first Avanto with that Sauna, there's no guarantee you draw a second Sauna to continue the chain. As it happens, they got lucky. But that was definitely an incorrect play order. Alright, so they have used the mole. I guess the curse... I don't think I would have bought the curse there. I'm not sure. I mean, like, obviously they've now seen the pile out. But I think maybe there's some world where Arjun could, like, trash 3 curses and buy a province and play a mountebank or something. Doesn't really matter. It looks like it's gonna win. Yeah, what was I thinking? Sana trashing cards? This game is clearly proven Sana does not trash cards. My mistake. Alright, buy that curse. Curse yourself. Yeah, there we go. Alright, AuD sees the pile out now. Good match. So I believe AuD came back a bit, but it ended up 4-2 in Arjun's favor. And that was the first I-League match of the season for their division. Good luck to the players in the rest of their matches. And see y'all later.